My military experience, I was an intelligence officer in the military, and I had a top secret clearance, actually a high-level top secret clearance. Members of Congress are frequently called upon to look at confidential material, and they have to be able to ask the right questions. They have to know the limitations and the capabilities of our intelligence community. I've worked in the community and I understand these things. I think a person can serve as an effective member of Congress if they haven't been through these military experiences. But it certainly would help me in appreciating all the different aspects of military intelligence, which is, we look at this intelligence to determine whether or not we go to war. And for me, there's no more important decision a member of Congress ever makes than whether or not we send people, our young men and women, into harm's way. So that's another aspect of my background. I guess the final thing I would hit on is I have professionally several other diverse experiences. I've been to Capitol Hill. I've seen Congress work and not work up close and personal. I have some specific ideas about those issues I'd like to tackle should I end up in Washington early next year. I've come home. I've spent time in the private sector. I actually grew up in a small business family, so I'm sensitive to those challenges and have some idea about how we create jobs in the private sector economy. And then finally, more recently, I've been working on a regular basis helping people in need, frequently providing free legal services to those who just can't help themselves, for those who the life issue is important to, and I know there are many members of the Tea Party who do care about that issue. My wife and I regularly provide free adoption legal services to people because we want people to choose that choice as opposed to another choice that we have some problems with. And you know, finally, I'm a deputy prosecutor. So law and order is an important issue for me and something I have some direct experience with on the prosecutorial end.
Well, that's very thorough, and I thank you very much for that.
Yeah, please interject if my answers are putting anyone to sleep out in the audience. I apologize.
I doubt that really. I do know that it's not as if this is the first time we've met, and that you're a very dedicated, actually a very religious man, and have great convictions and principles, but you seldom try to shroud yourself in those as your selling point. It's principles based, and that's in your answer, and we very much appreciate that. The next question, again, this is from our steering committee, is what do you believe the role of the federal government is, or maybe I should say, what should it be, the role of the federal government?
Well, that's an excellent question. So whichever member of your steering committee came up with that one, maybe it was a collective effort, I commend you. Well, the first thing I would do would be to open up this document, the Constitution of the United States. And, you know, I would refer to the enumerated powers, Article 1, Section 8. Itemizes exactly those areas where Congress should be involved. It's often said that we have a living Constitution. That is not my view of things. We have enumerated powers for a reason. Why would they be there if our Constitution were a living document? And in a sense, it's always, it's been adaptable because there are provisions in our Constitution that allow us to amend the Constitution. So if we reach a certain threshold of support for any particular change we'd like to make, then we can pass a constitutional amendment to the Constitution. That's the way things should be. More generally and philosophically, what should our federal government be doing? What should any government be doing? I'd say the role of government is to defend lives, rights, and property. Nothing else. Lives, rights, and property. If we go back to that rule of thumb, so much of this other nonsense will be returned to from the federal government to the states, from the states to local governments, and from local governments to private, freedom-loving individuals, which is the way it ought to be.
Absolutely. Terrific. I think that's the answer that most of us look for. The next question also from the committee. What will help you resist appeals and pressure by lobbyists and other legislators to vote in favor of pending legislation that does not adhere to conservative values or increases the power of the federal government? What would you do to resist that?
Well, gosh, we've
earlier
seen that a
mentioned-
lot recently, haven't we? We've
Yeah.
seen a lot of people give lip service to the things we care about, like fiscal responsibility and constitutionally limited government, but then go to Washington and vote a different way. Here in Indiana's 9th District, we've seen that, not just from Democrats, but in recent years, I believe, from our Republican member of Congress, too. And so that, to me, is a very large part of what this election's all about. First of all, I'd ask the people, and I'm asking the people right now, I'll stare into the camera, to hold me accountable. I am running on a platform of doing what I say I'm going to do and asking to be held accountable for all of my promises here. This is why I asked for this proceeding here, for this interview, to be taped, because I want to be held accountable. What else can we do to help resist pressure? Well, we can elect to office people who have something else to fall back on. I've told you about my life. My life is pretty good. I could do some things in the business world that would allow me to provide for my family more than amply. I have some other options, continuing to work down in Orange County, which I really enjoy. It's very satisfying. I love living here in Indiana's 9th Congressional District, close to friends and family, and I tell you, the life of a member of Congress doesn't strike me as very glamorous. So I am not doing this as an ego boost. I think it's very important that we don't send people to Congress who are so grasping at power, either because they have yet to accomplish quite a bit in their lives, or because, or as indicated by the number of times they run for office. We need to support people who can afford to say no, and I certainly can. The final thing I'd say is my interests are aligned with the interests of those that don't want our members of Congress to fall victim to irresponsible spending and extra constitutional sort of government. I've got 4 children. Well, 2 now, and I'll have another 2 here very soon.
You'll have a ball team soon.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're going from, for those who like basketball analogies, we're going from, the old saying's going from man-on-man to zone defense. Or heck, we're going right to 2-on-1. So, but I have some skin in the game, quite a bit of skin in the game, and it's not my skin. It's actually the skin of my children. So if I want them to enjoy the same opportunities, if I want them to enjoy the American dream, sometime very soon, things are going to have to change. And this effort, this campaign, is about doing our part here in southern Indiana to try and change the composition of Congress, not just from Democrat to Republican, but from what I would say is unprincipled to principled. And I hope we accomplish that.
We now have some specific questions from individual constituents who weren't members of our committee but are in your district. So our next question comes from a constituent in Harrison County who asks, how would you handle the illegal immigration problem, especially in light of the present high unemployment rate?
Sure. Well, my position on immigration doesn't change fundamentally based on the economy. I think we need to enforce the laws we have. And if people are here illegally, I'm not in favor of any sort of amnesty. They're here illegally, and we'll have to send them back. There are a number of things we can do. First, we would take a look at our southern border, which is where so many of the illegal immigrants come in. We do need to make sure it's protected. Some fencing can be part of that solution. But as someone who worked in the United States Marine Corps with unmanned aerial vehicles, these drone aircraft that many people have seen, I think that's part of the solution too. I think it's a more cost-effective way maybe to monitor our borders. So we need to take a greater look at that. I know the Border Patrol has made some use of those. We may continue to invest more in unmanned aerial vehicles. to help monitor the border.